Thank you for staying with us on TVC Breakfast Saturday. And of course, away from that music interlude now, let's bring up another discussion. And it's still in the fallout of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's budget presentation for the year 2024. Of course, this document, so to speak, is now before the National Assembly. And, the Senate has passed the budget for second reading. We also understand that the House of Representatives has done likewise. Well, suffice to say that the budget presentation unveiled by the president continues to gain momentum. The budget, which was presented to the joint session of the National Assembly, is themed the budget of renewed hope. And some of the focal points of the budget include security presented, which will get an allocation of 3.25 trillion naira, education 2.18 trillion, while social development and poverty reduction is put at 524. Well, these are some of the components of the budget. Despite rumors that the president presented an empty box to the National Assembly, well, that issue or that allegation circulated yesterday up until now. But of course, the presidency has responded. Even the Northern Caucus chairman in the House of Representatives, Ado Al-Hassan Doguwa, has debunked that allegation, saying it is incorrect and that the president did not present an empty budget box during his budget presentation. Also, let's talk about, some of the other intricacies of this budget presentation amidst the expectations by Nigerians that it indeed renews hope of everyone. We have joining us now via Zoom a senior economist and researcher in the United Kingdom. He's also a researcher with the Rivers State University. We have joining us visiting Professor, Rome Business School, African Campus, Dr. Ikechi Agbogba. Thank you very much for joining us on TVC Breakfast Saturday. We had you earlier in the week to share your thoughts on this budget presentation and amidst the expectations by Nigerians. But then an economist here in Nigeria is also of the opinion that Nigerians generally aren't interested in, the arithmetic components of the budget. Rather, what they are interested in is how prices will fall down after now. That's is his take. What do you think?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to feature again. I had alluded to that fact that the president's budget of renewed hope is quite in order. In fact, it's a very, I was going through the budget, that statement, and I discovered that what he had stated is actually trying to change a system problem, trying to look at some of the SDG goals agenda of the United Nations, and also trying to, when it talks about renewing of hope, the people who, had voted him into power, and now what is their hope? So let them renew their hope this time around. And he talked about macroeconomic stability, poverty reduction, and greater access to social security, among others. Yeah, so the macroeconomic stability touches on the variables, which of course we know we've been mentioning them: human capital development, job creation, employment opportunity. Now we are talking about high price, the inflation, high inflation. How will it be curtailed? And it's not just having a budget, but how can we implement it? How can we operationalize it? The strategy, the performance, how is it? How are we, connected to the stakeholders, to other people who will, make this thing to work out? We are, Nigeria has been, passing through a lot of insurgency issues, security issues, and can I take us back that, the sectors that we have, Nigeria is highly endowed. Yeah, is highly endowed. We have a huge population, human resources. We have vast natural resources. We have, oil and gas with oil reserves, which is, estimated over 30 billion barrels. Yeah. And at, the current extraction rates, proven and probable oil and gas reserves, they are estimated, at last more than 50 years. And, abundance of mineral and then agro resources. So I was just thinking about the budget and how agriculture has been highlighted. And I saw that I was not really happy.
Just a moment before you get to the point. Before you get to the point that you're not really happy with some development there, but let me start with your earlier statement giving commendation to President Bola Tinubu for this renewed hope budget. Let's quickly look at some of the allocation given to some sectors in this particular budget. We have it on record that the Ministry of Works, Finance and Defense are having a huge chunk of this budget. What do you make of this development vis-a-vis what we had in 2023 budgets?
If I heard you clearly, what I can say about that is that Nigeria, like I had mentioned, Nigeria, we have virtually every resource, we have the capacity. But the issue still on ground is that, are we following the right strategy, the right trajectory of delivering, of having it, play out? And that even took me to, begin to look at some of the places where I've visited, aside, where I am at the moment. When I was in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia, and I saw an economy that had prospered, and they had, we've been exposed to the same policies, we've been exposed to the same, similar experiences. And I began to ask myself, how can we borrow a leaf? How can we, start to look at how they were able to navigate those challenges? Yeah, so, and permit me to talk about Indonesia, which, it's very similar to Nigeria. We used to produce oil palm, in very large quantities, if you can remember, like there, that neglect. That neglect was, a very big mistake. And today they are the highest producers of that. And just permit me to talk about how they were able to strategize in some of the areas which, like in the social stream, when it comes to the ethnic issues, the cultural issues, diversities, and all of that. So there was they placed a harmony between that. So when Nigeria can borrow a leaf from that, in even the interreligious harmony, cultural diversity, literacy. How are we operationalizing it from the top to the grassroots? And then talking about the economic stream, which touches on our able president, who has, who is leading the way, who has, given us a very good renewed hope agenda. And, what of the economic stream, the strong intellectual property rights regime. That was how Indonesia was able to adopt that. And also even opening an outward-looking trade policy. Yeah, and then let me talk about the political stream. What about the political transparency, strong corruption control? That is another very vital aspect which I will really give kudos to this Southeast Asian country. And even the meritocratic politics, which it's very important. I was happy to, one of my friends who is also, in the government, we were discussing this sometime last week, and he told me that all the ministers were asked to open an account on LinkedIn to be able to reach out to the grass, reach out to see what is going on. The social media is very important. Many of our leaders, they need to be in touch with research. They need to be in touch with, with other, with information, the ICT. And we've seen that we are in the era of fourth industrial revolution, which is driven by cyberspace systems.
All right.
And at the moment...
Dr. Ikechi, apologies for the interruption, but let me take you back to your earlier point about you seem to be expressing some misgivings about the allocation for agriculture. And of course, we know how the president and his aides have been harping on their needs to ensure food affordability and availability. So share your thoughts with us on, the figures you are seeing.
Well, the figures I'm seeing is still encouraging, I must tell you, because when I was asked to comment, after his ascension into power, and I was telling them that they were asking me what are your suggestions, at least the first 100 days of him being in the office. And I looked at the issues, the plethora of problems confronting Nigeria's agriculture, and some of the critical bottlenecks that I highlighted a lot of times, that there is no regulation of the agriculture sector, no access to land, and you have pointed it out, availability, which touches on food security, food sufficiency. Look at the high price of food, and we understand that if you don't eat, you will not be able to work. Nutrition is very vital, and we are endowed with agro resources. I was even trying to talk about how this same Southeast Asian country have been investing in the agriculture. We are very strong in agriculture. What's going on in the agriculture and food systems? We need to look at production. We need to look at processing. There are many, agro resources that, from the crops, the livestock, the forestry, the fisheries. This is the areas that we need to focus on, and on how to build strong system in production, in processing, in distribution, logistics, the road network from the rural and to the urban. And when you talk about agriculture, you're talking about the rural areas, because that's where the huge production starts from. And of course, that production is not complete except it gets to the hand of the end users. And the end users are more in the urban areas. They are more in the cities. So how are we able to unlock rural infrastructure? At the moment, I've been creating a lot of frameworks and model for that also in my research factory at the Brain Engineering Institute, which I'm working with a team of researchers on that. And not just research, we are trying to bridge the gap between research and industry. So it's not an academic thing now. Again, we are taking it out of the walls of institutions. We are now moving even at the Rome Business School, which is where we are having so many government officials coming in there for us to mentor them. Thank you.
If I may just come in now, this particular budget of 2024 is anchored on 7 priorities. Let me quickly read the priorities here. The national defense, job creation, poverty reduction, macroeconomic stability, investment, environment optimization, human capital development, and social security. And when we look at all of this, are you indeed happy with this development at this time compared to what we have in 2023. Talking about education, the previous administration budgeted about 1.79 trillion naira. With what we have at the moment, about 2.18 trillion naira in education. Is this a good development that is coming to Nigeria and Nigerians?
Thank you very much. Of course, it's a good development. Don't forget that the president is an experienced person. He's not a kid again. So, when you listen to him, his words, I paid rapt attention to what he was voicing out. That man is highly experienced, and that's why I started by commending him, and that education thing, he talked about students' loan scheme, which of course made me to also smile, because I'm quite passionate with young people. I work with youths a lot, and with the institutions that have been opportuned. While I was in South Africa, I saw how their government were factoring in young people a lot. So the young people are paid to actually go to school, literally, I'm telling you. So the government gives a lot of social security. So even when I saw that the president also highlighted the aspect of social security, which of course social credits, funding solutions for students, which of course he mentioned it to be like a sustainable model of funding education. So that model is, if it will be implemented, if it will happen, let me use that word, indeed, then that will go a long way to help. And even we are facing brain drain. Nobody has, I've listened to some of the commentaries on that. Nobody has talked about brain drain. The extent of people leaving the country is not a good sign. So now how, are we looking at some of the issues that are, people want in the diaspora, they want to come to invest in Nigeria. But when they hear that there's this and this challenge, so they are afraid to come in and build up the system. Like I talked about, is a system problem. So the system problem will also need some sort of approach that will be able to revamp. And like someone was saying, trying to draw water from a dry well. So we need to actually build up wells, first of all, pour in waters so that we will be able to start drawing water from them with joy.
Dr. Nkechi, what Nigerians are indeed yearning for is to see the quick wins for them to see more developments in the country, because a lot of people are even confused with a lot of figures. Some Nigerians, you will agree with me, what they want to see is the benefits, what this budget will bring to them. When UNESCO is even saying, concerning that education, saying that the benchmark should be about 26%, and we've been hovering between 7 and 8%. You said it's a good development, but let me leave it there. Kemi, these are interesting developments at this time.
Right.
So you will react to that. You let him react to that, and you have your own.
Dr. Nkechi also, share final thoughts quickly, though, about, the need to avoid leakages, because that has also been a burning concern by observers on how government operates, and, of course, how to avoid budget deficits this time around. Can you share your thoughts under 1 minute?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, can I, say that there is need to minimize importation of goods. There's need to encourage good exportation. Like I had mentioned about our strong areas, that, because we will be able to generate a lot of income by exporting our products, our produce, and not like, business as usual. Of course, we know in the devaluation of the Naira, so we need to, engage in that. Then what about agricultural exploits for food security? I had mentioned this. And what about small-scale business support? We need to support small-scale businesses and manufacturing sector support as well. Then, of course, the human capital, capacity development is very vital. And I talked about ICT as well, integrating ICT in all the sector. ICT will unlock transformation, even from the rural economy. We need to create more hubs and, developing that aspect in the rural areas is, will be able to unlock a lot. I mean a lot. And, we have the offerings, supporting their public and private partnership, clients and all of that. And of course, that will also bring about improvement in organizing an individual performance over time, developing frameworks to define the requirements associated with successful performance in all those sectors. And, and finally, even providing policy recommendation. We need to factor in some of the problems that have hindered the government of the past from investing potentially in agriculture. Agriculture is very important. Agriculture can unlock Nigeria's economy, I'm telling you.
Right.
It can unlock Nigeria's economy if we invest on it, especially in the entrepreneurship aspect, which we are talking about at the Brain Regeneration Institute.
Dr. Allocation Agbagba, we thank you very much for speaking with us. Of course, Dr. Agbagba is a visiting professor, Rome Business School, African Campus. Once again, thanks a lot for your contributions on TVC Breakfast Saturday.
Thank you.